They have fortunes that span centuries, estates passed down through generations, and family names that carry undeniable weight. But here's the twist. The children of old money are not raised to flaunt privilege. They're raised to avoid entitlement. While new wealth often struggles with spoiled heirs and flashy lifestyles, old money families have a set of quiet, deliberate strategies designed to keep their children grounded, disciplined, and above all, humble. If you want to discover how the ultra-wealthy raise children who remain grounded instead of spoiled, you're in the right place. Stay with us until the end of this video, because the way old money parents shape their children's character might surprise you, and it may even change how you think about wealth and privilege. And before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This is the Luxury Lane, your window into the private world of the elite. At first glance, you'd expect old money children to be entitled. After all, they are born into mansions, attend the best schools, and never have to worry about money. But here's the paradox. Old money families are acutely aware of the dangers of entitlement. Generational wealth doesn't survive arrogance, recklessness, or indulgence. So, for centuries, they've developed traditions, rules, and subtle methods to raise children who appreciate privilege without becoming consumed by it. Unlike new money households, where wealth often appears suddenly and without a blueprint, old money is wealth that has endured, and endurance requires careful cultural engineering. Every child is groomed to preserve, not just spend. Lesson 1. Work before privilege. One of the most important ways old money avoids entitlement is by teaching children the value of work, long before they inherit privilege. You'll often find that heirs to banking dynasties or aristocratic families had summer jobs, internships, or even chores growing up. These jobs weren't about financial necessity. They were symbolic. A teenager from an old family might spend summers working at a family business in a modest role, perhaps even under a manager who doesn't treat them like royalty. Others might be required to volunteer or spend time in service positions where they experience life outside of privilege. This grounding is intentional. By learning discipline, hierarchy, and the concept of earning, these children internalize that wealth isn't a free pass. It's a responsibility. Lesson 2. Understated luxury. While new money often raises kids in an environment of designer logos, flashy cars, and constant displays of wealth, old money families intentionally cultivate understatement. Children are taught not to flaunt possessions, but to appreciate quality and heritage. Instead of the latest sneakers or sports car at 16, they might inherit a grandfather's watch or a family heirloom. The message is clear. Luxury isn't about showing off. It's about tradition, craft, and longevity. This understated approach keeps entitlement in check. By stripping wealth of its flash value, old money parents prevent their children from attaching their identities to status symbols. Lesson 3. Education as obligation. For old money families, education is non-negotiable. And it's not simply about grades or degrees, it's about cultivating a lifelong respect for learning. Children are often placed in rigorous schools, taught multiple languages, and expected to excel in arts, history, literature, and diplomacy. But education is more than a personal achievement, it's framed as an obligation to one's family name. Old money children grow up knowing that ignorance brings dishonor, and knowledge preserves prestige. Entitlement thrives on laziness and self-importance. Education, when framed as a duty, creates humility. There will always be more to learn, more to master. Lesson 4. Service before self. Another cornerstone of old money parenting is philanthropy and service. From a young age, children are exposed to charitable work, not as a photo opportunity, but as a family tradition. They might spend weekends volunteering, attending fundraisers, or learning how to manage charitable foundations. This isn't accidental. Old money parents understand that entitlement grows when children believe wealth exists only for their benefit. By tying privilege to responsibility, especially responsibility for others, they ensure humility becomes second nature. Philanthropy is often framed as legacy. Our family has given back for generations, and now you must continue the tradition. It's not about ego, it's about duty. Lesson 5. The silence of money. Perhaps the most subtle but powerful method is this. In many old money families, money simply isn't talked about openly in front of children. Allowances, budgets, and financial privileges are given, but they're rarely tied to large numbers. A child may know they live in comfort, but not be aware of the full scale of the fortune until adulthood. By avoiding constant talk of wealth, old money prevents entitlement from taking root in the first place. Children grow up in an environment where money is background, not the centerpiece. This silence shapes perspective. Privilege is treated as normal, but not as a personal accomplishment. The message is clear: you didn't earn this, so don't act as if you did. Lesson 6. Scarcity within abundance. One of the most fascinating old money techniques is what can be called engineered scarcity. Even in households where resources are limitless, children are not given unlimited access. A teenager in a wealthy family might receive a modest monthly allowance, far below what the family could actually provide. If they want more, they're expected to work, save, or make sacrifices. This is no accident. It's a psychological tool. By introducing scarcity, parents create appreciation. Children who never hear the word no grow entitled. Children who learn to wait, prioritize, and budget, even within abundance, grow disciplined. Scarcity trains them to value what they have, rather than assume more will always appear. Lesson 7. Etiquette as armor. In old money circles, etiquette is not an accessory, it's armor. From an early age, children are taught manners, social graces, and the subtle codes of behavior that govern elite circles. Why? Because entitlement often reveals itself through arrogance, disrespecting staff, being dismissive, or flaunting superiority. To prevent this, old money emphasizes humility wrapped in etiquette. Children learn to treat waiters, drivers, and housekeepers with respect. They are corrected if they interrupt conversations or act boastful. This goes beyond politeness. It's survival. The family reputation depends on it. A spoiled heir can destroy social capital in a single dinner party. So, etiquette becomes a shield, not just for the child, but for the family legacy. Lesson 8. Identity beyond wealth. Entitlement often takes root when wealth becomes a child's only identity. Old money counters this by ensuring children develop independent passions and talents. They are encouraged to excel in music, art, sports, academics, or public service, not because they need to, but because it grounds them in personal achievement. A child who plays the violin at Carnegie Hall or rows competitively at university has a sense of identity beyond their last name. Their self-worth doesn't rest solely on inherited money. It rests on discipline, practice, and skill. This prevents the dangerous mindset of, "I am valuable only because I am rich." Instead, the message becomes, "I am valuable because I can contribute, excel, and create." Lesson 9. Exposure without excess. Old money doesn't lock children away from luxury. In fact, heirs are often exposed to art, culture, and refinement from a young age. They attend the opera, visit museums, travel abroad, and learn about fine dining. But here's the key. Exposure is not the same as indulgence. A child might learn to appreciate a 5-star meal, but they're not given free rein to treat it as an everyday expectation. Travel might be framed as cultural education, not vacation indulgence. This balance allows them to experience refinement without becoming jaded or spoiled. In other words, they are taught to enjoy privilege, but never assume it is their birthright. Lesson 10. Public responsibility. Another defining feature of old money child rearing is preparation for public responsibility. Unlike new wealth, where children may live relatively unobserved, old money heirs often grow up under the gaze of society. Their behavior is noticed, discussed, and sometimes criticized. Parents remind them constantly, "Your actions reflect the family name." This sense of accountability curbs entitlement. A child who believes they carry their entire legacy on their shoulders thinks twice before misbehaving. They understand they represent not just themselves, but generations of wealth and reputation. This weight of responsibility, while heavy, is also grounding. It transforms entitlement into stewardship. Lesson 11. Humility through history. Old money often relies on family history as a teaching tool. Children are told stories of great-grandparents who built the fortune, the sacrifices made during wars, or the resilience required during economic depressions. This historical perspective serves as a reality check. A young heir learns that wealth didn't simply appear, it was preserved through effort, risk, and restraint. By constantly looking backward, children understand that entitlement can unravel generations of hard work. Wealth, they are taught, is fragile, and humility is what keeps it intact. Lesson 12. Privacy over performance. Perhaps one of the strongest antidotes to entitlement is old money's obsession with privacy. New money often thrives on performance. Lavish Instagram posts, flashy parties, public displays of success. Old money families, on the other hand, retreat from the spotlight. They prefer anonymity, discretion, and controlled exposure. Children raised in this culture are taught never to brag, never to broadcast, and never to turn wealth into a stage. Privacy trains them to see privilege as a personal matter, not a public show. It strips away the temptation of performative entitlement. The child who grows up without needing constant validation is far less likely to become spoiled by attention or status. Lesson 13. Boarding schools and separation. One of the most deliberate strategies old money families use is sending children away to boarding schools. While it may sound harsh, there's a purpose behind this. By living outside the protective bubble of their estates, children are forced to adapt, socialize, and follow rules without parental cushioning. They make friends across social classes, compete academically, and sometimes even do their own laundry or chores in structured environments. This separation teaches independence and resilience. It ensures that privilege doesn't insulate them from the realities of discipline, authority, and peer relationships. In essence, it keeps them from growing up in a gilded cage. Lesson 14. Affection with boundaries. Contrary to stereotypes, old money parents are not cold or detached. They do show love, but always with clear boundaries. Children are not coddled with material gifts as substitutes for affection. Instead, they receive emotional support, paired with high expectations. A parent may comfort their child through failure, but will also remind them that resilience matters more than indulgence. This blend, warmth without overindulgence, prevents entitlement. The child grows up knowing they are loved, but also that they are accountable for their actions. Lesson 15. Delayed inheritance. Perhaps the most practical method of curbing entitlement is withholding wealth until children are truly ready. In many old money families, inheritances are locked into trusts that only become available at certain ages or under certain conditions, such as completing education or proving responsibility. This delay serves two purposes. 1. It prevents reckless spending in youth. 2. It reinforces the idea that wealth must be managed, not consumed. Some heirs only gain full control of fortunes in their 30s or 40s, after they've matured and proven capable of stewardship. Until then, they may live comfortably, but never without limits. Lesson 16. The art of saying no. In wealthy households, temptation is everywhere. Cars, clothes, vacations, and instant gratification. But one of the most effective parenting tools is a simple one: the word no. Old money parents do not shy away from denying requests, even when they could easily say yes. The act of restraint teaches patience and gratitude. A child learns that desires must be balanced with discipline. Ironically, the richest families sometimes enforce stricter limits than middle-class households. This paradox is intentional. Entitlement grows where boundaries do not exist. Lesson 17. Social integration, not isolation. Another subtle rule. Old money children are often encouraged to spend time with peers outside their financial bracket. Whether through schools, sports, or community work, they are exposed to people who live differently. This exposure prevents a bubble mentality. A child who only interacts with other heirs risks believing that extreme privilege is normal. By widening their circle, parents ensure empathy, humility, and perspective take root. Lesson 18. The power of silence. One of the most invisible but powerful rules of old money is silence. Children are discouraged from talking about wealth, family assets, or inheritance with outsiders. Why? Because boasting feeds entitlement. Silence, on the other hand, creates discipline and discretion. A child raised not to speak of money learns to separate self-worth from fortune. In fact, many old money heirs only discover the full extent of their family wealth when they are much older. Until then, they are taught to act as if they are ordinary, even when they are anything but. Lesson 19. Stewardship over ownership. Perhaps the most powerful lesson of all is that old money children are taught they don't truly own their wealth. They are stewards of it. The estate, the business, the art collections, and even the family reputation are framed as responsibilities to be preserved for future generations. A child is reminded, this is not yours to waste, it is yours to protect. That mindset transforms the relationship with wealth. Instead of entitlement, where privilege is a personal trophy, there is stewardship, where privilege becomes duty. Lesson 20. Legacy. First, ego second. Another theme you'll notice is legacy. Old money families repeatedly drill into their children the importance of maintaining the family name. This means avoiding scandals, treating others with dignity, and building on the foundation that has been carefully laid for centuries. Personal desires are often secondary to legacy. It can feel restrictive, but it is also grounding. When a child grows up knowing that their life is part of a larger story, they are less likely to waste it on entitlement and self-indulgence. Lesson 21. The quiet confidence. After all these traditions, rules, and practices, what emerges is a very particular kind of confidence. Not the loud, boastful confidence of someone trying to prove their wealth, but a quiet assurance that comes from stability. Old money children are rarely raised to shout about who they are. Instead, they're taught that the world already knows. True wealth whispers. It never screams. And when children internalize this, entitlement has little room to grow. Why this matters in the modern world. In today's age of social media, where luxury is often flaunted and attention is currency, the old money approach feels almost radical. Instead of indulgence, they preach restraint. Instead of entitlement, they emphasize responsibility. And perhaps that's why their wealth endures. Flashy fortunes may rise and fall with market bubbles and viral fame, but the families that prioritize humility and discipline are the ones still standing after centuries.